Hey everyone, welcome back. We're going deep today into Kotak Mahindra Bank.
Always a fun one.
Yeah, for sure. We're looking specifically at their second quarter results for fiscal year 2025.
Which is,
Yeah, so July to September 2024,
right.
if you're keeping track on a calendar.
For us calendar folks.
Yeah, exactly. So to do this, we have a couple of documents. One is a press release that the bank put out with some of the key numbers, and the other is a really, really thorough investor presentation.
Oh, very thorough.
Yeah, so by the end of this, we'll not only understand like the headline figures,
Yeah.
but what it all means for Kotak Mahindra's strategy and how that might reflect what's to come for banking in India.
That's right. We're going to be looking at those clues.
Love it. All right, well, the first clue
The first clue.
that jumps out at me is the consolidated profit after tax jumped 13% year on year.
Wow.
That's huge. It hit at 5,044 crore.
That's a lot of crore.
That's a lot of crore. So is this just a good quarter, or is Kotak Mahindra like really outperforming right now?
Well, I think anytime you see 13% growth, you have to sort of sit up and take notice, right? But we want to be careful not to just look at one quarter in isolation.
Right.
So you have to sort of compare it to the overall trends
Yeah,
and see how are they performing compared to their peers as well.
that's a good point. So they're not just keeping pace. They might be like setting the pace.
Yeah, they could be ahead of the pack.
Okay, so what is fueling this growth spurt then?
So if we look at the investor presentation, it kind of breaks down the performance of different parts of the bank.
Right.
And one thing that really stands out is the growth in their loan portfolio,
Oh, okay.
particularly in areas like home loans and business banking.
Yeah, I was looking at that too, and I saw that customer assets are up by like a huge amount. It's 18%, hitting euro 510,598 crore.
Yeah.
And average deposits are also up by 16%.
So it seems like there's a lot of interest in Kotak Mahindra right now.
Yeah, everyone wants in.
Yeah. And if you break it down even further, you can see some interesting trends. So like the customer assets slide in the presentation shows that home loans and business banking are doing really well. But there's also this mysterious 33% jump in the others category,
Ah,
which makes you wonder what's going on there.
ooh, a mystery.
Yeah.
So I will have to come back to that. But overall, like, what does this loan mix tell us about Kotak Mahindra's overall strategy?
Well, I think it suggests that they're diversifying their loan portfolio, which is a smart move in a dynamic economy like India.
Okay.
You know, things are constantly changing.
Right.
So it's not a good idea to put all your eggs in one basket.
So they're spreading the risk a little bit.
Exactly. They're spreading the risk and making sure they're well positioned to take advantage of growth opportunities wherever they may arise.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But I'm sure some of our listeners might be thinking, like, hold on, isn't all this rapid loan growth risky? Could it lead to more bad loans down the road?
That's a really valid concern. Because, rapid growth can sometimes come at the expense of sound lending practices.
Right.
But Kotak Mahindra seems to be doing a good job of managing that risk.
Okay, so what's the evidence for that?
Well, their net NPA, which is basically the percentage of loans that have gone bad, is actually really low.
Okay.
It's only 0.43%, which is significantly lower than a lot of other banks.
Wow, so they're growing, but they're growing carefully.
Exactly. It's a delicate balancing act, but they seem to be pulling it off.
All right, so how are they keeping those bad loans so low?
So the presentation talks about some of their credit management practices. And one thing that stood out to me is that they're really proactive about identifying potential problems early on.
Oh, okay, so they're not just sitting back and waiting for things to go wrong.
No, they're actively monitoring their loans
Yeah.
and stepping in to work with borrowers who might be struggling.
So it's like they're playing a bit of offense instead of just defense.
Exactly. And that proactive approach is really paying off.
Makes sense. All right, let's shift gears a little bit now and talk about something that is like transforming the entire banking industry.
Oh,
Digitalization.
it's the future.
It really is.
Yeah.
And it seems like everything is going digital these days.
Yeah.
And Kotak Mahindra is definitely not behind the times.
Yeah, they're actually leaders in this area.
Yeah, but there's an interesting twist to their digital journey. They were actually ordered by the RBI,
Oh.
the Reserve Bank of India, to halt new credit card issuance.
Yeah, that was a big deal.
So what's the story behind that?
So the RBI had some concerns about Kotak Mahindra's technology infrastructure and whether it was fully compliant with all the regulations. So they basically put a temporary pause on their credit card issuance until those concerns were addressed.
Okay, so it's like a timeout, a chance to regroup and come back stronger.
Yeah, exactly. And Kotak Mahindra seems to be using this time strategically.
So they're not just like sitting around twiddling their thumbs.
No, they're focusing on strengthening their core banking systems,
Yeah.
improving their cybersecurity, and making sure that their digital payment frameworks are top-notch.
Sounds like they're building a digital fortress.
Yes, a fortress that can withstand any challenge.
Love it.
Yeah,
But what about their customers during this timeout? Have they just been neglected?
not at all. They've been channeling their resources into improving their existing digital offerings like their mobile banking apps.
Okay.
Speaking of which, have you had a chance to check out any of their apps? They've got Neo 811, Fin, and Cherry. It seems like they have an app for everything.
To be honest, I haven't tried those specific apps, but you're right. It seems like mobile banking is how most people interact with their money these days.
Absolutely. It's all about convenience and accessibility.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, now before we move on, I want to highlight that Kotak Mahindra is more than just a bank. They've got this whole ecosystem of subsidiaries that are doing some pretty cool things.
Yeah, it's like a financial powerhouse with multiple engines.
Exactly, like Kotak AMC, their asset management company.
Oh, yeah.
Their profit after tax shot up by 60% year on year, thanks largely to the booming stock market.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and Kotak Securities, their brokerage arm is not far behind with a 37% jump in profit.
So they're firing on all cylinders.
Yeah, so help me understand this. How much do these subsidiaries contribute to the overall picture of Kotak Mahindra?
Well, the investor presentation actually breaks down the profit contribution by each segment.
Okay.
And you can see that while traditional banking is still their core business, these subsidiaries are playing an increasingly important role.
So they're like adding fuel to the fire.
Exactly. They're helping to drive Kotak Mahindra's overall growth and diversification.
All right, so we've covered a lot of ground here. We've seen impressive profit growth, a dynamic loan portfolio, a commitment to digital transformation, and some seriously high-performing subsidiaries. It's almost like Kotak Mahindra is hitting all the right notes.
Yeah, they seem to be in a sweet spot right now.
But let's step back for a second and look at the big picture.
Yeah.
Based on everything we've seen so far, what's your overall assessment of Kotak Mahindra Bank's position right now?
I think they're in a very strong position. They're demonstrating strong financial performance, strategic diversification, and a willingness to adapt to the changing landscape of banking.
So are they a bellwether for the entire industry? Is this a sign of what's to come for other banks?
I think they're a good indicator of the trends we're seeing across the sector. Their focus on digital rotation, their success in managing NPAs, and their expansion into various financial services are all things that other banks are grappling with as well.
Okay, but remember that mysterious 33% jump in the others category?
Oh, yeah, I haven't forgotten about that.
What could that be?
I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, we'll definitely be unpacking that in the next part of our deep dive, so stay tuned for more financial detective work.
Can't wait. All right, so that mysterious 33% jump in the others category.
Yeah, what's hiding in there?
Well, the investor presentation doesn't break it down specifically,
Right.
but it does give us some hints. They highlight Kotak Mahindra's position as a leading financier for things like tractors, commercial vehicles, construction equipment in India.
Okay, so could some of that growth be coming from loans in those areas?
It's definitely possible. These are all sectors that are very tied to economic activity, especially infrastructure development and manufacturing.
Right. India's got some ambitious infrastructure plans.
Exactly. So it wouldn't be surprising to see more lending happening there.
Yeah, it makes sense. More infrastructure projects, more demand for that equipment, and thus more loans to finance it.
Right. And we can't forget about the agricultural sector, too.
Oh, yeah, of course.
The presentation mentions their agriculture division, which is all about serving farmers.
Yeah.
That sector's been growing steadily, so it's probably contributing to that others as well.
So it seems like that others is really a mix of a bunch of things.
Yeah, reflecting Kotak Mahindra's strategy of trying to serve a diverse customer base.
Makes sense. Okay, well, mystery solved for now.
For now.
Let's shift back to something we talked about before, asset quality.
Right.
Remember that low net NPA ratio of 0.43%?
Oh, yeah, that was impressive.
Super impressive. So how are they doing that?
So the presentation dives into some of their credit management practices.
Okay.
They mentioned something called SMA2.
SMA2.
What is that? It stands for special mention accounts. Basically loans that are overdue, but only by 61 to 90 days.
So like a little bit behind?
Yeah, it's like an early warning system,
Yeah.
Hey, this borrower's starting to slip. Let's keep an eye on them.
Okay, so catch it before it becomes a bigger problem.
Exactly. And their SMA2, as of September 30th, 2024, was 176 crore,
Okay.
which is actually down from the previous quarter.
So it's getting better.
It's improving, so they're identifying potential problems early and taking steps to fix them.
That's good. They're staying on top of it.
Yeah, proactive, not reactive.
I like it. Now, there's also this mention of standard restructured loans.
Oh, yes.
What are those?
These are loans that have been modified in some way to help borrowers who are facing temporary difficulties.
Okay, I see.
Like during COVID, a lot of businesses needed help with repayments, so banks offered restructuring options to make things a bit easier.
Right, to kind of weather the storm.
Exactly. And Kotak Mahindra says they only have a small amount of these restructured loans outstanding,
Okay.
which is a good sign. It means they're willing to help, but also being careful not to take on too much risk.
Makes sense. A nice balance.
Yeah, finding that sweet spot.
Okay, let's get back to that digital transformation journey. Specifically, that RBI order.
Right, the credit card situation.
Yeah. It can't be easy to have those restrictions, but it seems like they're using it as an opportunity.
They are. The presentation says they've made a ton of progress in strengthening their systems.
Like what kind of things?
Their core banking systems, their cybersecurity, making sure those digital payment frameworks are really solid and compliant.
So they're making sure that everything is like super secure.
Yeah, it's like building that digital fortress we talked about.
Got to have strong walls.
Exactly. And they're
Right.
not forgetting about the customer experience either.
That's good.
They're investing in their mobile apps, like Neo 811 Fin Cherry, making them more user-friendly and adding features.
So they're saying, hey, we can't give you new credit cards right now,
Right.
but we can make your current banking experience amazing.
Exactly. They're focusing on what they can control.
Love that attitude.
Yeah.
Okay, for those of us who might be interested in Kotak Mahindra as an investment,
Yeah.
what about their financial stability?
Well, a key indicator there is the capital adequacy ratio, or CAR.
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 Okay, and what does that tell us?
It basically measures the bank's capital reserves compared to its risk-weighted assets.
So the higher the better, I assume.
Exactly. The
Yeah.
higher the CAR, the more financially stable the bank is. And Kotak Mahindra has a CAR of 22.6%.
Okay.
Which is way higher than the regulatory requirement of 9%.
Wow, so they're exceeding expectations.
Big time. Which
Yeah.
is a really good sign for investors. It means they have a strong buffer to absorb any potential losses.
So they can weather the storms.
Yeah, they're well prepared.
Nice. All right, let's talk more about those subsidiaries. We touched on Kotak AMC and Kotak Securities.
Right, those are doing great.
What other ones are kind of standing out?
Well, Kotak Mahindra Prime, their vehicle financing arm, is doing really well. They had strong growth, especially in car finance.
That makes sense. More and more people in India are buying cars.
Yeah, rising incomes, easy financing. It's a booming market. And
Yeah.
Kotak Mahindra Prime is right there to capitalize on it.
Smart. And they finance commercial vehicles too, right?
Yes, which are crucial for businesses and transportation.
So they're supporting the whole economy in a way.
Exactly. They're playing a vital role. And then there's Kotak Mahindra Life Insurance.
Oh, yeah. Insurance is a big deal.
Huge. They reported healthy growth in their premiums, and they have a strong solvency ratio, which basically means they're in a good financial position.
So they can meet their obligations,
Right. They're reliable and well managed.
which is what you want from your insurance company.
For sure. These strong performances from the subsidiaries really highlight the benefits of that diversified business model.
Yeah, it's like spreading your bets.
Exactly. It reduces risk and opens up more avenues for growth.
Smart. Now, the presentation also talks about their reach across India.
Oh, yeah, the geographical presence slide.
What does that show?
It breaks down their branch network. They have over 2,000 bank branches, 156 Kotak Mahindra Prime branches, and more for the other subsidiaries.
Wow, that's a lot of branches.
It is. And what's interesting is that they have a significant presence in both cities and rural areas.
So they're not just focusing on the big urban centers.
Nope. They're trying to reach everyone.
Okay.
Which is important for capturing market share and also aligns with the government's push for financial inclusion.
Bringing banking services to more people.
Exactly. Making sure everyone has access.
Okay, before we wrap up this part, I want to touch on one more thing. The presentation mentions an agreement with Standard Chartered Bank in India.
Oh, yeah.
What's that about?
So it involves acquiring Standard Chartered's personal loan book in India.
Whoa, that's a big deal.
It is, though it's still subject to regulatory approvals.
Of course.
Yeah.
So how big are we talking?
Estimates are around 4,100 crore in outstanding loans as of September 30th.
That's a lot of loans. What does this tell us about Kotak Mahindra's plans?
It shows they're really serious about growing their retail lending business. They see a lot of potential in the Indian consumer market.
Makes sense. So they're doubling down on that bet.
Yeah, they believe in the Indian consumer.
It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. All right, as we move to the final part of our deep dive, let's shift from the specifics to the bigger picture. What do these results tell us about the health of Indian banking overall? And what can we learn from Kotak Mahindra that might apply to other banks, both in India and globally?
Okay, so we've spent a good amount of time with Kotak Mahindra Bank now.
We really have.
Learned a lot about their performance this quarter and dug into all these interesting details.
Lots of details.
So now it's time to kind of zoom out.
Take that wider view.
Yeah. What can we learn from their journey that applies to like the bigger world of finance, especially for those of us interested in India?
Right, because we've been focused on this one company.
Yeah,
But what does it tell us about the bigger picture?
exactly. So what are those big takeaways? What trends are we seeing here that connect to the whole story of Indian banking? Well, I think, first of all, Kotak Mahindra's performance really shows us the strength of the Indian economy.
Okay.
Despite all the global uncertainty, India is still doing well.
Yeah, it's a bright spot.
Yeah, and Kotak Mahindra's growth, particularly in areas like infrastructure and lending, really reflects that strength.
So they're kind of riding that wave.
Exactly. They're benefiting from those positive trends.
And that success is like a signal that things are looking up for the whole financial sector.
Yeah, it's a good sign for everyone.
Okay. What else? What about the role of technology?
Oh, yeah, that's huge. We've seen Kotak Mahindra really pushing for digital transformation, even with those regulatory hiccups.
Right, the credit card thing.
Yeah, but it shows that they're committed to the shift towards mobile banking, personalized experiences, data-driven insights. This is the future of banking.
It's like the industry is evolving.
Yeah, and they're evolving with it.
Okay, so they're looking ahead.
Definitely. And that commitment to building a really strong digital foundation is key for long-term success.
Because things are changing so fast.
Yeah. All the time. You got to be ready to adapt.
Now, what about their approach to diversification and customer focus?
That's another big takeaway. They're not just a traditional bank anymore. They've got this whole range of products and services for all sorts of different needs.
It's like a one-stop shop for all your financial needs.
Exactly. And that kind of agility and customer focus is what sets them apart in a competitive market.
Okay, so they're catering to everyone.
Yeah, they want to be the go-to financial partner for all kinds of customers.
And that diversification helps them manage risk too, right?
Absolutely. It's like spreading your investments. You don't want to put all your eggs in one basket.
Right, makes sense. But amidst all this growth and innovation, there's also a need for balance.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Kotak Mahindra's low NPA ratio and their proactive approach to credit management show that they're not just chasing growth blindly.
They're being responsible.
Yeah, they're thinking about the long-term health of the bank and the financial system as a whole.
It's about finding that sustainable path to growth.
Exactly. So for anyone trying to understand Indian banking, Kotak Mahindra is a great example.
Yeah, they're like a case study in what's working right now.
Okay, so we've gone from those headline numbers to the hidden details, from loan trends to digital strategies, from subsidiaries to the bigger economic picture.
It's been quite a journey.
It really has. And I think the key takeaway is that Kotak Mahindra's story is still being written.
Yeah, they're not done yet.
Their focus on growth, innovation, and customer centricity, along with their strong risk management practices, makes them a company to keep an eye on.
Absolutely. Lots more to come.
And as always, there's way more of these reports that we could cover today. So if you're interested, go check them out, dig into the data, and draw your own conclusions.
Yeah, do your own deep dive.
And remember, the world of finance is always changing. So stay curious, stay informed, and keep an eye out for those trends that could reshape everything.
Always be learning.
All right, thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time for another exciting exploration into the world of business and finance.